To open today's proceedings, I would like to invite Ms. Swati Salgaonkar. She is the director at the Wimson Group. She is also the vice chairperson of the Goa State Council of CII, the co-chair of CII Startups and Innovation Committee for Western Region, and a member of the CII National Committee on Mining and the CII National Startups Council. Ms. Salgaonkar is also a member of the advisory committee of the Urban Works Challenge and an alumnus of Columbia University. Welcome, Ms. Salgaonkar.
Thank you, Sanchit, and good evening to all our viewers. It gives me great pleasure today to wear both my Columbia and my CII hats during the first of a series of collaborative events between the Columbia Global Center in Mumbai and CII Western Region. Meaningful innovation to produce a positive impact can only happen when there's a deep alignment of key stakeholders. And I think the pandemic has shown us that we require greater collaboration across disciplines than ever before. CII Western Region looks forward to supporting the Columbia Global Center through resource sharing, events, and initiatives that will look at sustainable and inclusive innovation through a constructive dialogue between academia and industry while supporting next generation businesses. Prior to and during the pandemic, CII has been at the forefront of policy advocacy and has enabled strategic linkages across sectors to fuel economic growth in a socially inclusive and environmentally sustainable fashion. CII has also been continuously facilitating industry connects with early stage businesses to provide them mentorship opportunities, pilot opportunities, strategic investments, technical expertise, and domain knowledge across the value chain. We look forward to a long and fruitful association with the Columbia Global Center in Mumbai to promote such linkages in the region and nationally. It gives me great pleasure also to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Mr. Sunil Mathur. He is the Chairman CII Western Region 2020-2021 and MD and CEO of Siemens Limited for South Asia since 2014. He has been a part of the Siemens team for over 30 years and is also currently a member of their global leadership team. Mr. Mathur is on the National Council of CII and chairs the CII National Smart Manufacturing Council as well. He has also been a past president of the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce and the Bombay Chamber of Commerce. I'd now like to invite Mr. Sunil Mathur to deliver his address.
Thank you, Swati, and very good evening to everyone. Hope everyone is healthy and safe at this time. I guess that's the opening remark and the first wish that everybody has when you get into a gathering. But particularly, I would like to take this opportunity to mention that this is the first ever interaction of Swati after she stepped into her current role as the Vice Chairman, CII Goa Council. So, congratulations, Swati, and all the very best for the year ahead.
Thank you.
Ravina Agarwal, Director, Columbia Global Centers, fellow panelists. Um, we at CII are very happy to join hands with Columbia Global Centers, and we look forward to a long and continued engagement. History has repeatedly shown that the crisis during that crisis drives innovation. Usually, that is the trend that has happened, and the pandemic has dramatically altered the way we live. It can't be denied that most of us will find that our world has completely changed in very fundamental ways, and will have changed already, but will change even more once the threat subsides. The new normal will be a new normal, and that will be a completely different world from what we've been used to. Um, I think corresponding to that, the current pandemic has also forced many industries to rethink their current and future strategies for growth, their business models, the fundamental principles of doing business, the balance between disruption and opportunity in different areas of engagement, particularly with both human and machines, the interface between human and machine to chart this new path is becoming now a core issue. I think it is very clear, fair to say, that digitalization has been accelerated in the last 1 year. And I know we are a technology company. We've been trying to bring across digitalization to many of our customers for the last couple of years. But the sudden spurt in inquiries in the last 8 months has been massive as people have begun to really feel the impact that digitalization is actually having on their lives on a day-to-day basis. Um, but crisis is also a strong driver of creativity and innovation. Indeed, if examined closely, one can already observe abundant creativity and innovation emerging at the national, institutional, organizational, and individual levels within the countries affected by pandemic. Much of the research on creativity and innovation stresses the need for time and effort for creative thought, accomplishments, and innovation implementation. Actually, it's all about implementation finally. However, taking the time to respond creatively may be a luxury that we don't have anymore. And particularly when you've got a crisis on your hand, you need to be in a position to be creative immediately and to respond to that crisis immediately. Interestingly, the current pandemic has suggested that it may not always be the case that time is needed to develop a creative and innovative response. And sometimes creativity can thrive under pressure, and that is what we've begun to learn in the last couple of months. It's also true that innovation increases the chances to react to changes and discover new opportunities. And many businesses have found new ways of going to the market, have found new products and solutions that gives them a competitive advantage, particularly at this point in time. So innovation is really becoming the core of what companies are now beginning to think about much more. And while I'm on that subject, I think it is fair to say that when you look at the market for engineering and R&D in India, this is growing at 14%. It's growing at a CAGR of 14% a year and could reach $40 billion by in the next 2 or 3 years. India's share in that is only 2.5% of the global R&D spend, and we are ranked, or we were ranked 52nd 1 or 2 years ago, right? And I don't think we've made too much progress there. There are only 26 Indian companies in the list of the top 2,500 global R&D spenders in the world. 19 of them, 19 of these 26 Indian companies are in pharmaceuticals, automotive, and software. Our R&D spend in India is less than 1% of the GDP. Um, some other countries, Brazil, Russia, are over 1%. China is 2%, Japan is 3%, the US is close to 3%, US, Germany, Israel is about 5%. And here you begin to feel this is where it is hugely critical that we step up our engineering, R&D, and innovation activities here in the country. Most companies are busy meeting the needs of yesterday, where you have initially a couple of front runners who have a cost advantage and can demand price supremacy for some time. Over time, competition creeps in, prices fall, standardization takes over, and differentiation becomes critical. This is where innovation comes in, not once, not twice, but every day. And this is, however, a reactive and a defensive position. You are reacting to the competition. You need to do that because this is going to be a continuous process. But truly sustainable companies, companies that have lasted the test of time, They are companies that are preparing for tomorrow. These are companies where real innovation comes in, where they look at trends, where they look at buying behavior, where they look at product developments, where they look at the economic environment, the social environment, the environmental needs, the trends that are happening around the world, the regulatory impacts that are emerging around the world. And through this picture, they build a major picture for themselves. And they are the ones that build for themselves a role for the future. Now, continuously staying ahead of others, therefore, ensures a robust P&L, so it makes business sense. Um, but it makes you also much more relevant in the market, and it makes you sustainable in the long term. And finally, businesses are really about staying ahead of the curve. As long as you are ahead of the curve, not once with a product, not twice with a solution, but every day, every minute, you are thinking ahead and you are innovating ahead. So I'm really delighted that you're having this event today, and the startup forum and such innovation forums are really the catalysts that we need here in the country to really take this country to the next level. We do not want to be only the manufacturing base of the world here in India. We have got the best software minds in the world. We've got the best manufacturing capabilities in the world. We now need the best innovations and innovators in the world. We've got some great institutions, academia, research and development, and this is where we need to bring them all together and bring them all together to create an ecosystem that will drive innovation. And that's why I'm so delighted that you guys here are really looking at this as a vocation. I wish we'd started much earlier, but there's never a right time to start. And this is really the right time for many of you to really get off the ground. It will involve risks. It will involve people, used to old ways, advising you not to take those leaps in faith. And it will involve creativity on a continuous basis. The important thing for government and for institutions like CNI is to support you in ensuring that that ecosystem exists. And this is what Swati and her team are doing at a regional level in Goa, and indeed at a national level as well, to see how can we really create this ecosystem that provides all the support systems to young innovators to start thinking out of the box, provide the latest research information to them, provide the latest environment of academia, provide the latest infrastructure availability to them, so that really you are able to take the innovation that you have created and make it commercial, and really answer, more than making it commercial, answer the needs of society. I think that at the end of the day is really what counts. Sustainable companies are not about profits only. Sustainable companies are about uh, contribution to society, their place in society. Companies that are contributing on a continuous basis to answer the needs of society are the companies that will last the longest and will make the most contribution. So please do keep that at the back of your mind while you are talking about innovation and discussing how to really make it work here in your own areas, but also as an industry really in the country. From a CII perspective, we have kind of we are doing a lot of things, not only on in the area of innovation. We're also, during the pandemic, we've also been looking at relief and rehabilitation measures. We've kind of looked at impacting the lives of over 1.5 million people that were impacted through the pandemic, through the police, the healthcare workers, municipal corporations, etc., using innovative solutions, but also contributions, and also finding different ways to really address the needs of these people first, and then the needs of small and medium enterprises that have really felt the pain of the lockdown, of the slowdown in the economy. We are now looking to be working with municipal corporations and state governments on the vaccine distribution. How can we be more innovative over there to really find a way to get the vaccine right through to the last person in every single village? So please do keep this at the back of your mind, that innovation is also about answering the real needs of society and not only about finding a commercial basis of taking something to market. So, with that, I'll stop. All the very best for your deliberations. I look forward to hearing how it went, and Swati will stay in touch. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mathur.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mathur, for the inspiring words. We will now have the panel discussion. So we have four leading entrepreneurs who have created tech innovations to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Our first panelist is Mr. Jay Krishnan, who is the founder and CEO of Asimov Robotics. He has prior experience in providing solutions to several agencies, including the US, European, and so on defense, space, and nuclear applications. And he has deployed successfully more than 200 robots across the world in several geographies. Our second panelist is going to be Dr. Shashi Ranjan, who is the co founder and director of Persapien Innovations. He started out his career with an engineering degree in biotechnology and later on went to pursue a PhD in biomedical engineering from the National University of Singapore. He has several publications to his name from reputed journals like Nature, and he has been part of several institutions such as IIT Delhi and AIMS. Our third panelist for today is Mr. Nikhil Corelli. He is the co-founder and CEO of Knockarc Robotics. He has been featured in the prestigious Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia in 2020. He is an alumni of IIT Kanpur and has pursued BTech in mechanical engineering. He has a keen interest in ground robotics and machine design and has previously worked in organizations such as Bajaj Auto and Tata Sons. And finally, our fourth panelist for today is Ms. Darshika Joshi. She is the co founder of Glimpse Analytics. She is a serial entrepreneur and an expert in Python and computer vision. She has worked with cutting edge technology for about 7 years and has built large scalable products and has sold her first startup. The panel will be moderated by Dr. Ravina Agarwal, the director of Columbia Global Centers, Mumbai. We will begin with each startup's introductory presentation, followed by the discussion. Over to you, Dr. Agarwal.
Thank you so much, Sanchit, and welcome everybody. This is a very, very important and exciting panel, Innovations for the Pandemic. And I would like to start off by saying a big thank you to Swati Salgaonkar, who has been very instrumental in this partnership with CII Western Region. We're really grateful to you for facilitating that and for shepherding this through. Also, thank you to Ms. Jane Sankarda for all the help she's extended us, and also to this very inspiring address that was given by Mr. Mathur. I'll come back to other thank yous that I must present before you. But before that, I want to tell you a little bit about the Columbia Global Centers Mumbai. The center is one of 9 global centers of Columbia University. And just like Mr. Mathur said, in today's age, and we need to think beyond silos. We need to bring research and development and engineering and commercial markets and society all in one bucket. And I think the pandemic has definitely shown us, the crisis of the pandemic has definitely shown us, A, the need for global cooperation, and B, the need for interdisciplinary, inter-stakeholder thinking and working together. And so the centers were also established with that idea of taking academia I mean, Columbia University is a very international university with diverse students and diverse faculty doing research in multiple parts of the world. But the impetus behind the centers, the thinking for our president was that by a physical presence in different parts of the world, we tap into innovation. We're not only as Columbia University producing knowledge by ourselves, we produce it collaboratively. And the purpose of the centers then is to advance research, to strengthen education, and to increase the application of academic knowledge and scientific knowledge into addressing real world challenges and solutions. And of course, the pandemic is an amazing testing ground, very unfortunate, but also a big challenge for us to think together about how we must go forward and prepare for the future, both the, working with the next generation and of our students, as well as the enterprises out there, and how we can work together to combat all the challenges that society throws at us. This we work in multiple areas in India, including environmental sustainability, health and medicine, education, culture and knowledge, and business and economic opportunity. This event today is part of a larger project that we've been doing, and it's called Urban Works Innovation Challenge, which supports passionate and innovative startups both in the US and in India, but to work on Indian cities and to solve problems related to sustainability and safety in Indian cities. And we support through financial support, that is, with the help of the RMZ Foundation, which is our very generous donor for this particular project. And so we provide, but more importantly, other than the financial support, we also have a very rigorous 9-month curriculum. So we've been doing a lot on the issue of innovation in India, and innovations for the pandemic is part of that larger impetus. This session is focused, of course, on innovations, particularly during the pandemic, and it brings inspiring stories of startups who made new products or tweaked existing business models to create solutions tailored to tackle the pandemic. So welcome to our very, very inspiring panelists. And I want to start off with asking you, to talk about what prompted you to innovate for this problem, and for how did you handle COVID-19? What were your biggest wins and challenges during the pandemic? Our first speaker is Mr. Jay Krishnan. The floor is over to you.
Thank you very much, Sanjeev, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you, Ravina. Thank you, Columbia Global Centers, for giving us this opportunity to speak. And thank you, Dr. Mathur, for inspiring and insightful words. So to begin with us, you can see as we carry the name of a famous person who is known as the father of robotics, Isaac Asimov. We are very much committed to provide solutions which makes your life comfortable and safe. The pandemic actually, even though it devastated our life and our economy, one of the good things about this is that the adoption of technology, the acceptance of technology, particularly robotics, is, you can see that it is completely different post-pandemic. This is a survey done by International Federation of Robotics, and you can see that the service robotics growth is up to 32%, and in that the medical robotics is up to 28%, and the logistics, which is contactless logistics, is up to 110%. So this is highly, inspiring, and it's a big opportunity for us, startups like us to tap in. Yeah, this is not the complete list of products, but what we are trying to do to address this issue with the help of robotics, we can divide into 4 different segments. One is obviously the social behavior, how robots can help human beings in maintaining the new normal. And then the environmental hygiene, which actually includes the personal hygiene also. And of course, the logistics, the contactless logistics and nursing or caregiving. And finally, the surgical systems. We see one by one what we are doing. First, the personal hygiene. It is something which you have to do yourself. Nobody can tell you to do what, but you can only make you aware of that. So we are actually deploying robots at public places and workplaces to make people aware how they can take precautions and care to stay away from this infectious disease. And secondly, it will also answer your questions, frequently asked questions, doubts about this pandemic. The robots are loaded fully loaded with all the information that is available today about this pandemic. So there are multiple robots. As you can see from the picture, one robot is actually dispensing sanitizer and mask and other things. And then the second robot is actually educating people about the pandemic. This is about the social behavior, how to maintain the new normal. In fact, most of the robot, we obviously work with service robots, social robots, which are front-facing robots. So most of the robots are now equipped with a feature called health screening. So what it does is that basically as you step into a work environment or a premise, this robot will be there in the reception or in the lobby, which will be first checking if you're wearing mask. And if you're wearing mask, whether it is properly worn, otherwise it will suggest you to wear it properly. And second thing is like it will measure your temperature, body temperature. And if your body temperature is in a safe limit, it will actually allow you to go inside. Otherwise, it will check with you regarding any other symptoms which is related to COVID, and it will suggest you to consult the physician, and your details will be recorded and it will be sent to the health administration. And once if your temperature is within the limit, then it will dispense sanitizer, and after sanitizing your hands, you can get inside. And finally, what it does is like in the free time, it will be there in the lobby or in the open space wandering, and then it will scout for identifying people gathered together more than 2-3 people. If gathered, it will approach them and it will talk about the importance of keeping social distance. So this is what basically the health screening robot does. So one thing I missed is that this robot actually health screening is done for the last local body elections in Kerala. It was actually handling more than 300 people in a queue. From morning to evening, it was doing the health screening of voters. And coming to the environmental hygiene, there are 3 things done with the help of robot. As you can see, the robots are really capable and dexterous, so it can it actually goes to the places like door handles, which is a potential area from the disease is spread. So it will frequently clean the knobs, switches, and door handles. And then there is another robot which is actually getting ready for the large area disinfection and sanitization using UV lights. And then finally, the gadgets like mobile phones, wallet, everything will be disinfected. That is actually a part of the reception health screening. This is a very interesting use case which we came through hospital in Bangalore. And what they're doing is there actually a lot of surgeries are happening, like per day, 30-40 surgeries are happening. So what happens is that, there will be a lot of departments like, ICU for the post-surgical critical care, and then there will be theater, and there will be pharma, there will be clinical laboratories. So there's a lot of people movement through the corridor, like for transporting clinical consumables, sometimes blood samples. So what it does is like it is actually minimizing the human presence, because these patients under care are prone to infection, highly prone to infection. So we actually want to minimize the human presence through these corridors and then inside the ICU. So we are using a group of robots, not a single robot. What you can see on the top right is that robot. We call it a Seva bot. It's like scaled down ambulances moving through the corridor with blood samples and medicines and clinical consumables. So they interact each other. They interact with the human beings also, like to avoid. Sometimes there's a big bed coming from operation theater to the ICU, so it has to show a different kind of behavior. So that's what it is used for. And on the left top, you can see it's a robot which we have supplied to Government Medical College just after the outbreak of pandemic to provide the care for this tested positive asymptomatic patients. This is a very comprehensive solution. What it does is like it will supply food and medicine, and it will actually disinfect the used items like plates, mask, and whatever used items with the patients. It will disinfect, and it has got targeted disinfection for anything spilled on surface like bodily fluid. there's a spray for that. And it also provides a telemedicine facility with which the caregiver or physician can interact with the patient. And as far as surgery is concerned, very much connected with the pandemic, but this is also an area which a lot of research is happening. So this is a very long road. We have just got a lot of approvals. As far as surgical robots are concerned, we are working with 2 projects. We are developing a robot for performing a minimally invasive craniotomy for a problem called cranial synostosis. And there is another robot, which is a platform, which is a interactive compliant platform for performing the endoscopic neurosurgery to hold the adapter. Again, not connected with pandemic. This is our human replica robot. We call her as Chaya bot. So she can synthesize almost all expressions, and she can speak like human beings with phonetics based lip synchronization. So she can also be there as a reception robot or a robot which interacts with you for clearing your doubts or anything. Just some press reports, and we got featured Forbes and Honorable Prime Minister. Fortunately, we could interact with him, and we could demonstrate our police robot. You can see the police robot there. She's also working as a sub-inspector in Kerala Police. So she's also performing the COVID screening. We got featured in BBC, and it's a good time for us, even though pandemic is there. On the business side, it's a very good time for us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that presentation. Oh my God, there's so many different types of robotics that you all have developed. But of course, the period of development and clearances and licensing, as you mentioned, is a long period, and nobody could have predicted the pandemic, last year. So how long did that process? How much in advance were you innovating and preparing for these, especially the ones which are all about hygiene and sanitation? And what made you anticipate those? That's one question. And second, what kind of in terms of the business itself, what kind of possibilities did you see come up during the pandemic, Jai Krishnan? So I just leave you with those. Perhaps you could address those questions, and then we'll move on to Shashi.
So in fact, actually, we had a focus. We have a focus on. We had and we still have a focus on medical applications. In fact, with the second outbreak of Nipah in Kerala, we actually was working with a robot, on developing a robot for robotized ICU. It's not just a standalone robot. It's a robot which is taking care of patients inside the critical care who is having contagious diseases. So this project is a very long-term project. So immediately when COVID came, we could very quickly subsidize this robot to make Karmibot. And the other human lookalike robots, I mean, it's not the final one, the Saya bot, we call it as the first one. So that robot is a platform. So you can customize it easily. It has got mobility, it has got manipulation skill, it has got vision processing, it has got NLP. So whatever use cases are there, you can easily customize. We have deployed it with security applications and healthcare. One robot is actually doing the elderly care. So it's very easy. So the switching was very easy for us. That's how everything is modular and reusable. That's how we get it. And secondly, this opportunity is really big, as my first slide was talking about. So I think there will be huge deficit because of this opportunity also. So I think that our next aim is to scale up this. Some of our products does require some approval, like FDA approval, does require. We are not thinking of commercializing it immediately, but as you know, the current patenting patents are like broader patents. So as soon as they are getting lifted, we have to be ready with the product. That's why we are just starting the research now.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more questions for you, which I'll address after everybody has presented. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ranjan, to Shashi Ranjan. Please, we look forward to hearing from you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thanks for having such a wonderful discussion here. And thanks a lot for inviting me for such a nice panel. I hope I can contribute to this and can learn a lot from here as well. So without spending much time, maybe I'll start with the presentation. So we are Per Sapien Innovation. So our mission is built in our name itself. Per is each, and Sapien is human being. So whatever we do, we have idea of helping each and every human being, and that's what we started working on. So we are very fortunate to have a very nice set of funding pillars in terms of Stanford University, IIT, AIMS, Biodesign, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, GAIL, NUS. So the journey started when I met my co-founder Devan. I met my co-founder Devan, who is a graduate from IIT Kharagpur, and both of us decided to come back to India from Stanford University to do some impactful work here. We came here, joined All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIMS, New Delhi, and worked with Director of AIMS, Padma Shri Professor Randeep Guleria. So he is a pulmonologist and he had been working in the field of air pollution. So we started working with him and started working, understanding how air pollution affects. And air is something that we all share. So that aligned exactly with our mission, and we started working in field of air pollution. So just to give you a brief journey of ours, we were born in 2017. And in the same year, we got trust from GAIL India, a Maharatna PSU in terms of investment. 2018, we partnered with Volvo Automobile to combat air pollution in India. And in 2019, we launched two new patented products. So for implementation of one of the product, we partnered with Volvo again. And for another product, we partnered with TVS Motors. And in 2020, we all know what happened, pandemic hit. So once the pandemic hit, it was like a responsibility that we took, that as an innovator, we need to fight this and we can do something about it. And that's where it all started. We started working on solutions for COVID-19 pandemic. We have hands-on, including masks and suits for medical officers. We also developed a small robot, UV robots. But then finally, we started understanding this problem in a much deeper way. And in a terms of problem, what we realized that human to human transmission of viruses has to be stopped, and there is no solution for that. So we are wearing masks for that reason, but we all know how much mistake we may make. People are not very compliant to that, and lockdown is not a solution. So once people come closer, there are chances of people getting infected, because if there is some person infected, it will transmit. So we thought, can there be a solution which can keep air or the environment sanitized all the times? And more on that, if something is generated, some contamination is generated, it can neutralize it at the same time. But then, to our surprise, there is no such solution. And the main reason is all the standard disinfection solution we have are not safe for human being. And that's the problem. We cannot use them in presence of human being. So we started looking into, can we develop a new technology? And that's a big challenge. There is no such technology. It's a time of lockdown, and we took this challenge of inventing something completely new, unheard of, and we started working on a new solution. And that was a big challenge, but we thought, okay, this is the most critical time we can do something great. And then we came up with a very nice idea of, why not use water? Water is the safest thing we have. If somehow we can convert water into an effective disinfectant, then we will solve the problem. Now we can create a mist of water. So this water droplet can be everywhere. And if this water droplets can act as disinfectant, then the problem is solved. So to do that, we created a new system of activating this water by using electrical energy. And then now we can convert normal tap water into water mist. And then we got it tested and certified from ICMR. And this is the only technology in terms of disinfection and sanitization that has been certified and tested by ICMR, and it kills 99% of viruses. This is also the fastest way that we have got. And it is chemical free technology, completely safe, and the safety has been studied as per US FDA guideline of ISO 10993, which is the same guideline that is used for any medical device, and this is completely safe. So definitely in terms of disinfection technology, now we are much ahead of any disinfection technology because of the safety that we have achieved, that this is safe for human being and it can be used in presence of human being for continuous sanitization and disinfection that no other technology can have. So we have got a lot of testing done. ICMR has approved. We have got it tested from international lab in USA, and safety has been approved by, I mean, as per the protocol of USFDA. So in past also, we have pretty much good background in terms of creating impact. We have impacted more than 500,000 lives through our previous products. We have partnered with Volvo and TVS for our last product. We have been invested by Gale India and Yes Backing Foundation, have got 3 patents, various national, international award, more than 400 media coverages and many seminars. And recently we got covered by Forbes magazine, and we were exclusively featured by Vigyan Parasar, the science channel of Government of India. And now we have been selected for highly prestigious Limca Book of Records for our innovation. So before I end, I would like to acknowledge support of our partners, which is like Google Launchpad, Microsoft Accelerator, TVS, Volvo, Gale, Yes Foundation, and BIREC, which is a Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Shashi. I mean, it just is very, it's motivating me to rush and buy something that sounds, very safe and not toxic, as a disinfectant. So I'd like to know, where all are you marketing, for one? And two, you've talked to us about the product design, etc. And of course, we know the need for it during the crisis as well, because sanitization of the air around us, the ambient air of our personal, hygiene, etc., has become very, very important, right? But how are you tracking how people use your product? What is some of the what kind of monitors have you put into place? How are you tracking it? And I know you have the licensing all done, but in terms of your customers, how are you tracking it?
So first is how are we marketing, and then your second is like how are we tracking that. So I'm afraid we are not doing any one of that. So we developed the technology, but all the expenses that went on in developing this technology were not planned. So we started running out of funds. So, and then the next question was, we thought that once we have this technology, okay, a lot of people will be interested, and that's what happened. A lot of people got interest, a lot of big companies, and our idea was, and it's also is the idea now as well, that we will not do it on our own because it takes a lot of resources to do that. Rather, we'll be partnering with someone so that it can be much faster and the impact can be highest. And that's what we are talking about. But suddenly things have started to change because COVID numbers are coming down. So we are still in talk with some of partners, but we have not been able to do a lot of marketing on sales on that front. So yeah, we did. I mean, we believe we did one of the greatest invention in our career, but yeah, funding is a problem.
Yeah. Thank you. You've identified very candidly, one of the big challenges that, inventors and, techies face. I mean, you might have, you tackled one of the hardest problems you could. You found the solution to it, but now bringing it to market is a different ball game, and I think it requires a different set of, investment and mentorship, etc. So we hope that we, the next time we speak to you, we'll see a lot of traction on that for your business as well. And we'd like to speak to you more about that. I'm going to now, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions about this because there are lots of other people struggling with the same issues, right?
Sure, I'll be very happy to honestly answer them and discuss it honestly.
Thank you. I'd like to now invite Nikhil Corelli to please share your, product and your journey with us.
So, firstly, I would like to thank Ravina ma'am considering me to be part of this esteemed panel and like sharing things which we have done in such a short time. So just about us. So Nukak Robotics was founded in 2017 by Harshit and me. And when we were in college, so we decided to start a company looking at the opportunities in the Indian market in the hardware space, especially when we talk about the ground robots, when we talk about the different options people have. Majority of these dependencies at the end of the day falls in European region or the US region. So we are hardly like making anything indigenously in terms of like the from the design from the design to even the commercialization phase. There is some or the other entity which is involved which is not belonging to India, right? So we do not have any companies like Apple in India. So that was one of the biggest motive for Harshit and me to start this organization. So the solutions which we started was actually solar panel cleaning solutions. So on the left, you see the Nokak S200. For this, we have recently also received a patent grant from Government of India. The patent has been granted. On the right, there's a robot called Nokak A600. Both these robots do the waterless cleaning of solar panels, primarily the large scale solar installations. And we were incubated in IIT Kanpur in 2017, and then in 2019 we came to Pune to set up a manufacturing facility. And as soon as we set up the manufacturing facility, we had the COVID lockdown, and we all knew this particular business, solar being an operational heavy business, we faced a lot of challenges in even opening up the facility at the same time, continuing the work which we are doing. So we were not left with doing anything. So we started working on the ventilator. So the events took place in a way that there was a clarion call from Prime Minister, and there was a personal like call from the PMO office to IIT Kanpur director asking for all the incubating companies to step in and help in the COVID like fight for the country and like develop solutions. So we took up the challenge to develop the product, and the basic requirement was to understand the product because none of our team members were actually like saw the ventilator and like person. So that was the biggest challenge which we had. Like for us, it was just a science, and that was supposed to be solved at that such a short period of time, and with the restrictions of having very less supply chain available of the critical components. So the patient safety was one of the priority, and the requirement was of high-end ventilator, because if we talk about the ventilator in COVID, the ventilation requirement is primarily invasive ventilator. And when we are talking about the invasive ventilator, a small deviation in the parameters which is being like delivered to the patient, it can affect the patient drastically, and it can deteriorate the condition. So that was something which was the consideration. So the safety of healthcare professional was one of the also aspect which needs to be catered, because the average load on the healthcare staff increased to 10, even into 10x to 15x in certain hospitals based on our research which we found out. So the idea was to have something which is not just safe for the patient, at the same time is also safe for the healthcare professionals, and making is user intuitive. So the task force was created by Indian Angel Network, as Ravina ma'am rightly pointed out. The academia and the industry and partnership with the business houses is something which can drive innovation. So that actually happened in our case. We, along with IIT Kanpur, with the support from IIN, who collectively form a task force of individuals who have experience in the medtech industry. So different CXOs, CEOs of the medtech industry, task force of 20 individuals, out of which we have 2 Padma awardees, who were guiding and continuously for 82 days, including Sundays. We had a meeting from 12 to 1:30 to ensure that every problem which we are facing in this project is solved right then and there. So we came up with 2 solutions in the medtech in the COVID period. 26th March was the day when we actually thought of designing the ventilator, and Nokak V310 ventilator is something which we already have in the market. It has been designed primarily considering the requirement of a high-end ICU ventilator. And there's another device which has been developed, which is high flow oxygen therapy device, Nokak S210. Both these devices have been designed indigenously completely from Nokak Robotics with support from IIT Kanpur. So if we talk about the journey, we started on 24th March when we received a requirement from IIT Kanpur and we studied the respiratory device requirement. We went through several research papers from WHO, several research papers. Even we read some of the researches from Columbia University. So that's how we collected the information and we got into a position wherein we actually got to know what exactly we are going to do. And the good part is that we already had experience in the robotics, so that allowed us to design the control system in a much quicker way. And to give you an idea, the first working model, not the ventilator, but the proof of concept was designed in just 8 hours because we had the control system of the robots, which we are already making for the clean tech customers. So if we talk about on 24th March, we started 26th March, we got the permission from the CM's office in Maharashtra. And after 82nd day, we had the approval letter from the Ministry of Health, from DGHS, which is Directorate of Health Services, and the ventilator was ready to be used in multiple hospitals across India. We have close to 600 ventilators installed right now in India, and these are all high-end ventilators. It is also being used in some like hospitals like Symbiosis, Medanta. We have already like installed the ventilators there. We are serving close to 150 plus hospitals, and we have a presence across 15 union territories and states. So the idea was not just to create a business, and definitely we started because we had nothing to do. But at the same time, the idea was to create something which not just comes as an example, but also as a learning to Nokak and the team members. Fortunately, we as a team of 20 has now grown to a team of 80 in just a period of 6 months. And we have even shifted to a new premises, which is 10x of the last premises. And that is all because of the support which we have received from IIT Kanpur, our investors, and different government entities. Whenever we went to any entities, I would really like to tell you that the kind of collaboration which has happened during the time of COVID is something which I never even imagined of. So we even got a call from Principal Secretary of MSME at 11:30 p.m. Asking, reconfirming that we have whether we have got the permissions or not. So that is the kind of collaboration and the energy which was there at that time in terms of creating solutions. And as on date, we have also created 120 plus indirect jobs. That is through the addition of people in the distributor and dealership networks. And we have not just created the product, but also we have brought in the affordability to the healthcare. Majority of our installations are happening in tier 3 and tier 4 cities. Until unless, like if we talk about these high-end hospitals, which who can afford these medtech devices like high-end ventilator, the tier 3 and tier 4 hospitals are which do not have the funds to buy these sophisticated equipments and use it because the patient load is very less. So that is what we have done, and we have allowed these tier 3 and tier 4 hospital infrastructure to keep these kind of sophisticated devices and serve the patients better. Our vision right now is to stay ahead of the technology through innovation and challenging ourselves to the limit. And so if we talk about the team right now, the team is completely filled with passion of creating the products, and that is what we are planning to do as we move ahead. The idea from the medtech division is to create products which bring affordability to the healthcare system, healthcare infrastructure in India especially. And we'll not just be making products for the Indian market. Our products have already been exported. We have exported to the neighboring countries as well as some countries in the European region. But as we move ahead, definitely we'll be creating products which is for the global market. And for the clean tech market, the idea is to create a product which helps government of India to fulfill the aim of 100 gigawatt. And that is something which we are trying for, because that is the product which we have in the clean tech domain is basically enabling the solar developers to install the solar plants in arid region. We have been funded by IIN Fund and Startup Incubation and Innovation Center. And we have been fortunate to have support from InfoEdge, ICICI, Standard Chartered, BioAct Grant, and various agencies who have came forward and supported us in the period when we needed the money, mentorship at the right time. So I would like to thank them as well on this platform. We have been recognized for the efforts which we have put in and the kind of innovations we have done. Harshit and I have been listed in the Forbes 30 and the 30 batch of 2020 Asia list. And we have recently got awarded by Aegis Graham Bell Award for the innovative medical equipment. We have been featured in the Forbes Healthcare Special magazine as well. We have been the winner of National Startup Award under the Ventilator category by ISF and Ministry of Science. And we have even got the Smart Startup of the Year award from ISGF. So Harshit and I started this organization. Now we have Asim who is currently leading the clean tech business of our organization. He used to work as a vice president in Tata Power prior to joining Nukak. So Nukak now is very fortunate to have people like him as well coming with 35 plus years of experience in the solar sector and joining a company which is just a 3-year-old company. And we have been very fortunate to have mentors like Dr. Saurabh Shrivastava, who is a Padma Shri and co-founders of NASCOM, and Dr. Ajay Chaudhary, who is one Padma Bhushan awardee and one of the co-founders of HCL Infosystems, and Mr. Rakesh Bhargava, who is medtech industry expert and former chairman of Fresenius Kabi, which is a German-based company and has a global presence like in the several aspects of the medical equipment. So the team has grown, as I already mentioned, that the team has grown to 80 plus from the 25 before COVID. So I would be really happy to answer and share my learnings with you all. And this is what small contribution which we have done to the fight against COVID by India. And I'll be very happy to answer any of the questions which you have.
Thank you very much, Nikhil. I have a lot of questions. I'm going to hold them now. I just want to make sure that Darshika can present, and then we'll come back and start off with questions for both you and Darshika, and then the rest of the panelists. So Darshika, you go ahead, and then I'll come back.
Thank you, Ravina. Thank you, Sanchit, for giving me this stage for presenting Glimpse Analytics. Hi, guys. I am Darshika, co-founder Glimpse Analytics. So basically, we as a solution, we connect to existing CCTV camera setup of the brick and mortar stores, and we track the customers, we track the products, and we give the huge range of insights and analytics on the products and the customers of the stores. So this is definitely we were doing before COVID. This is the same same month last year when we went into the lockdown, and the whole brick and mortar store went into the lockdown, shut. Huge contracts were on pause, Along with that, we all were very scared. I mean, something which we were stepping into something which was totally unknown, and wondering that, we constantly had the supply chain workers and essential service workers who were continuously dealing with some other things to make us safe at our home. So we actually were wondering that how can we make something like using our technology, make workspace safe for them. So yeah, we modified our solution to ensure that COVID norms are followed everywhere, so that using the existing CCTV camera setup, we thought that it's best that if we can provide them like a solution which can tighten the COVID norms and make people safe at their workplaces. Yeah. So there were two solutions which we built primarily. One was live occupancy. That was, we were limiting occupancy of the people getting into trains, factories, malls, manufacturing unit. So primarily this implementation happened when London Metro C2C rail network implemented a solution to limit the number of passengers inside their train, because they have a CCTV camera inside the metro trains as well. So we started to detect that, and that this is like a preventive measure, so that if the occupancy limit is at certain level, there won't be a social distance. The social distance will always be maintained, which is a primary solution for COVID to not get to another person. This was another solution which we made, that was detecting social distance and mask compliance. Because as Jai Krishnan mentioned, that we are not, we are a social animal, right? It's very difficult for us to create this habit of maintaining social distance or continuously being wearing masks. It was very difficult, and when the lockdown was initially in the phases the lockdown was released, it was very difficult for HR and admins to have the employees to maintain social distance and mask compliance. appliances. So one of the implementation of ours was done by PNG distributor network across the India, where at the first week when we deployed a solution, I think within the two weeks itself, we saw a drastic decrease in the violation of drastic decrease in the violation of social distance and masks. Like people started to wear masks, people started to follow social distance, and that is where we feel that primarily people started to feel more safer that like going to workplaces, and we did a lot of pilots, and yeah, so these are our customers. Uh, so basically, these are the customers across the globe where we have deployed a solution, uh, just a COVID solution, because it was very important for office spaces, for factories, for manufacturing unit to make their workspace safer for their employees, and to have a proper steady running business, because it even one person getting uh, affected by COVID was a very huge deal by with the fellow employees. So it was very important for them to ensure these COVID norms are being followed. Basically, this we thought that this is what we did a bit with using our technology and our algorithms to tackle the COVID situation, to maintain whatever we can do from our side for the society. Thank you so much, and be happy to take the questions.
Thank you so much, Nikhil and Darshika. So let me start with a question for Nikhil. So my question to you, Nikhil, is how did you come? I mean, affordability is a key aspect of, it's your unique selling point in some ways, as well as the technology. How did you come to that price point? Did you have enough opportunity to do this tier 2, tier 3 city, customer discovery?
So to answer that, no, ma'am, the affordability was not just considering the market aspect. Affordability came through the period and the collaboration and other factors which contributed to it a lot. So if we talk about the kind of development, so the typical development cycle of a ventilator is usually 18 months to 26, 24 months. So something around that. We cut it short to 3 months. So the cost of development actually was very less. To answer your question, when we talk about affordability, it always comes that there has been some of the other components which have been sourced in the less cost, and the BOM cost has been decreased a lot. If we talk about the components which goes into our ventilator, these are the components which are world's best component, and these are being sourced from Europe and US and some of the best companies in the medtech industry. So the affordability has been not just from the market discovery, I would say it has been more from the development perspective and the less overheads being a startup. Something similar to what we have seen in the NASA Mars mission and the Indian Mars mission. There's a huge difference in the cost. It's because of the cost overheads, I would say. It's not because of the market, the completely different market we are targeting. We have been I cannot take officially, I cannot take maybe because of the legal issues, I cannot take the names, but we have even taken up the market from the players who have been in the market from last 20 years because of their affordability and despite being the best in class right now.
Wow, that's very interesting, and certainly shows us that there is very good business to be had with the cost factor also being kept at an affordable cost, because this, and especially in healthcare, when we have such a big population that does not have the means, and
Yes.
this is constantly a struggle for governments and for industry. How do you provide, and at the same time, how do you spur research and development and yet provide, cutting edge kinds of initiatives and cures and treatments? Darshika, my questions is very fascinating because all of us have been into stores and we've all had to stand in big queues, and for a period at least. And it's interesting to see how your technology is measuring those social distance norms, whether they're being maintained or not. I mean, you've talked about it in relationship to stores. I want to ask you more about the adaptability of your solution to, at a citywide or a workplace level. Have you thought of, the public transit? Are you thinking of expanding that in any way?
Yeah, so the way I mentioned, the first implementation of our occupancy we had done in the rail network, that's in UK. Yeah, and even the way you mentioned about the queue and so we do have queue analysis also. So in UK, I think in India we are okay to be in the queue, but in UK there was a little very this like in the what do you say citizens. So a lot of we implemented queue analysis in a lot of our malls, then railway networks. I mean, everywhere we did that. Like office spaces also. We were like, uh, we have done that. We did this social distance in office spaces. We in mask also. Like we did it in like manufacturing unit, huge manufacturing unit. We have done it in. This COVID gave us a very initially back before COVID we were just in retail like the store, but COVID gave us a very huge perspective that we can go down to these all sectors with our same solution. Now that we have implemented our COVID solutions in these office spaces and these manufacturing unit uh, and factories as well, they have now started using our solutions like PNG Hyderabad has been using our solution for boundary surveillance. So like now that is being used in all sort of a direction.
I'm going to ask a last question to all of you before we leave. I mean, you've talked about your technology, you've talked about its applicability, and to some extent we've addressed the market, though not completely. So, in your learning as a startup, what were maybe one thing? Maybe you could leave us with one lesson that you think is completely important for that you learned as part of your business, and you would like to share with all our budding entrepreneurs and all other fellow startups. What is it that you can share? Darshika, let's start with you.
Okay, so I think the main important thing which I've learned is like just to go back in March 2020. We it was the first time we have been always in the internet space before, and it was like since 2 years with Glimpse, we first time entered physical spaces, and within just a year of our developing it and reaching out to market and getting all new customers, we got pandemic just stuck us. And I feel that just the hope of we can use our tech, we can use our you know all the capabilities in some direction, be whatever the situation, just sit together with the team, and that was very important. Like just the hope that everything is we will make out of this. Like just because we at I think March 2020 we did not know is it going to last for 6 months, 9 months, month, a year, or we don't know. It was very important for us that we sat down together and we're like, okay, let's work our technology in certain way that we help them, because we actually did not have anything to do, because all our bigger contracts were on hold. Yeah, it is.
Thank you. So that's flexibility and the ability to pivot and endure. Great. Nikhil?
So like for me, the biggest lesson is, ma'am, I would say, like, and which I feel that everyone should implement in life is that there's nothing in the past. There's actually nothing in the past. We have to move ahead. There's only two options in life. One is to grow and one is to live with the issue and cry about it. So if we have to cry about it, we can't move. So we do not have any other option. So there's just one option to move ahead. It's all about, every solution is in the mind. We have to sit, we have to think about it. Every time the country, the human evolution has faced problems, we have overcome that, and that is the reason why we have survived. So I would say the biggest learning which I had is there's nothing in the problems. It's all about solution. You have to think about it. Everything can be solved just by a thought and just by a calm and peaceful thought on the issues. Basically, solving the root cause.
Solving the root cause. Okay. Shashi, the same question to you.
So I would say the biggest learning for us would be to be flexible and act to the situation. So whatever you are doing, that is immaterial. So if there is an opportunity, you act to it. You don't know, sometimes things can turn in your favor, sometimes it may not, but the way you can look at it is, still if you act with full honesty and commitment, you will be creating something great. That's it.
Thank you. And Jai Krishnan, to you.
Yeah, very good question, very important question. So three things. One is like, as it is obvious, every problem is an opportunity. Second is like, you should solve a problem of your customer, a pressing problem of your customer. And third thing is like, you can make a sales, or you can sell your products in 10 different places, but at the end of the day, your customer should be happy. You have to provide a very good after sales support. Just complete with one sentence, because I've been working with robotics for the last 15 years. I'm a passionate person. I've been creating robots that looking like and working like human beings. I've created a robot which can cook omelette and tea and serve wherever you are sitting at 2013. Nobody bought it. But you understand, because if you don't solve a problem of your customer, then it won't be a success. Now, because of COVID or because of many other situations, many other circumstances worked in favor to us, and things are catching up. But this is a real learning from my experience, last 15 years experience. First 7 years, I could sell 200 plus robots and in all these geographies. But that was a pressing issue. Then when I started working with this very overambitious problem, the market was not ready. So now things are different. So that's what I learned from that. So three things.
Thank you to all our panelists. You have, introduced us to such interesting ideas, and thank you for your efforts and your perseverance, and for, the flexibility. And without some of your products, we won't be able to get through crises like this. So I hope that you keep committed, and you don't, you have lots of success in this, in every direction, with good products, and with the market, and with your customers being very, very satisfied and impacted in a positive way. So thanks, everybody. I also want to thank our partners, CII Western Region again, and our partners at Columbia University, the Fu Foundation School of Engineering, with whom we run the Urban Works Challenge. Thank you for being with us, and please stay tuned and join our events. All right. Thank you, and good evening from me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Agarwal. And thank you to our distinguished panelists.
Thank you, Ravina ma'am. Thank you, everyone.